Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to Conscious Conversion, a weekly podcast about how we bridge the gap between business and spirit, money and meaning, technology, and regeneration in a wildly changing world. In a time of so much polarity and uncertainty, this podcast explores how together we are connecting across the planet, across our differences, and across dimensions as we build the new earth together. And as always, I am your gracious, grateful host, Sarah Yamtich, and today I am honored to introduce you to Katharina Hillenberg. She is a spiritual teacher, ascension guide, and cosmic soul contract channel. She uses her passion for astrology, human design, science, and psychology to reconnect the human with the soul, helping people all around the world to break out of their programming, societal and parental conditioning, and the fear and limitations that makes them not actualize and live their greatest potential and deepest desires. One of Kathy's deepest desires herself is to guide humans back to their true essence, to reconnect them with their heart and soul so that they can feel and realize that Earth actually is heaven when we become the embodied bridge between the cosmos and the Earth. That's when we become limitless creators. Oh my God, I could not agree more. I live by that truth as much as I possibly can, Kathy. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I just like to open it up with the big question, which I think I just answered partially in your bio. But what is your soul's purpose in this incarnation today on this planet?
First of all, thank you so much for having me, for inviting me back again, especially during the time right now where I feel like what you just read about what I'm about to do here is so needed to reconnect souls and humans and to really help us see that heaven is already here, even though everything in the outside world right now looks completely the opposite way, right? With everything that's going on in the world, but it's just a necessary purge for all of us, right? So we can actually realize that heaven was here in the first place, but we made it so complicated. And I think that's, again, my work here to erase all of the crazy distortions, blockages, fears, traumas out of, energetic fields of human souls so they can realign with their connection to source.
That's quite the purpose. It's amazing.
It's a lot as well to do.
Yeah.
But that's the work we all signed up for. So
yeah, I mean, on some level, tell me what you think. I feel like on some level that's all of our purpose, and it's just a matter of the more. I mean, to me, it's I feel like my purpose, one of my purposes, is to continually do the personal and spiritual growth work to become more tapped into the cosmic realm and the Earth, Gaia. And to be that bridge between the two. And to, I say sometimes I'm the Hierophant numerologically. I'm a 5 in the Tarot major arcana. And 5 is the translator of source to the earthly realm at its highest vibration. And so I'm just isn't that what we're all here to do?
I feel like we all do the very same thing as guides or mentors or spiritual leaders, however you want to say that. We all bring people back to their hearts. Because the heart is really the portal to the divine, the portal to our soul. So yes, it's true. We all have different ways of guiding people back to their own hearts.
Beautiful. Yeah, the heart is the portal. I recently listened to a podcast interview with on Aubrey Marcus's podcast, one of my absolute favorites, with awesome. Zach Bush, one of my other absolute favorite humans.
Yes, both are amazing.
I know, I'm obsessed with them both. Thank you, divine masculine beings. And Zach Bush said that the Earth, he has a thought or a theory, or however, I don't know how he would characterize it, that the Earth is the heart chakra of the universe.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
I know. Isn't that cool? And so when you think about that, then tapping into our own hearts is then tapping into the heart of the Earth, which is then tapping into the heart of the galaxy, which is then tapping into the heart of the universe. And
it's actually very aligned with the shirt that you're wearing. It's green, it's the heart chakra, and it's the geometry of also what I have, the Merkaba, which is very connected to what I think is the portal to the heart as well. So yeah, I love that.
I have it also
Ooh,
tattooed
you
on
also
my
have a
arm.
Merkaba. I love that. See?
We're
Confirmations on confirmations.
exactly Merkaba insanity over here. I love it
Yes.
so much. It's one of my absolute favorite. Well, I mean, they're all the sacred geometry is my favorite. I'm obsessed with it.
Me too.
I surround myself with it. Even if I don't know what it means, it's just the
Even
beauty
like
of it.
this one, I don't know. It's a rose quartz, which is associated with the heart, but it's in the shape of the David Star Merkaba. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Yeah, I surround myself with it because of the beauty and the order, and I try to always remind myself that that's what things are intended to be, that this universe is intended to be a sacred geometry, and that when we get out of the way, everything falls into place into a sacred geometry.
Exactly.
So I have it everywhere to remind me of that.
I love that.
So how have you been? So just to tell everyone, Magic Kathy and I had a podcast interview back in 2020. Which I had this podcast in 2020 called Conscious Conversion, but I was far more focused on digital marketing because I am the CEO of a digital marketing agency by the same name. And so that podcast was around marketing and spirituality and how we tie those two things together. And this podcast is way broader just because I have way more fun just having organic flowing conversations about God and spirituality and sacred geometry and purpose and all these things. And marketing plays a part in it because, well, we want to, those of us that have been called to lead or whatever, we need to get our message out in the world.
Yes.
If we're in some way a thought leader or an influencer or something along those lines, or a healer, then getting our work out in the world is, apparently marketing. So that's what 2020 was about. This podcast was about. And Kathy and I had a beautiful conversation back then, and I really felt like we connected really deeply. And so I reached back out to you, Kathy, to revisit our conversation in this more expansive way. So, and right before I hit record, I asked you sort of like how you've been since we last talked in the last couple of years. And as you were talking, I was like, oh, I should have held off and hit record first, because I could feel that it was coming into sort of a profundity.
Yes.
So I'll just ask again, how have you been? Have you had dark nights of the soul in the last couple of years?
I mean, yes, multiple dark nights of the soul, because I mean, working with the work that I do, I feel like the universe always puts me through what the collective goes through as well. Also, based on my human design, I'm a 6/2. I have so many open centers, so I pick up on a lot of collective energy, and I know that, and kind of like process it so I can know how to navigate and guide people out of those dark nights of the soul. And if you just look into what happened over the last 2 years, it's not a surprise, quote unquote, that I was going through a lot. Also by my Saturn return and everything. So it's definitely been a rough time, but it's reflected back to me what this entire 2-year chapter is also all about. And I feel like this Pisces season, even now that we're in, is the combination of it. It's a huge test in our connection to spirit, to God, source, the universe, and in believing that there is a higher order, even if everything in the external world feels like out of control, feels like not meant to be for us, and feels like basically crashing, crumbling and burning, right? And so I do feel like it's been a huge strength and faith test for myself, but also for a lot of people on this earth plane. Yes.
I agree completely. I mean, I myself have also had some dark nights of the soul, like pretty freaking intense ones, in the last couple of years. And that's why this question is really, I feel like, an important one, and one that's really interesting to me to hear from others as well, and to talk about. And that is like how, and you've alluded to it just by that deep, well, I won't go into it. I want to see what you say. How do you pull yourself up out of that dark night of the soul?
It's a good question. I think one thing that really, really helped me was just the people around me, just connection instead of isolating myself, which is kind of like an interesting thing to say, especially looking back to the past 2 years where the entire world wanted us to isolate, right? But I do feel like connection is the very best medicine, belonging, feeling that there are supportive, loving souls around us, soul family, so to speak, right? I think that's the most important medicine for dark nights of the soul, people that help you see things from a different perspective as well sometimes. And of course, every single day connecting with your heart, connecting with spirit, not closing your heart, as hard as it sometimes is. And I've been there where everything just feels so painful and all you want to do is just close your heart off. But that cannot be the solution, because that's what humanity has been doing over eons and eons and eons, and actually what brought us here.
So just continuously opening the heart and then reopening the heart and reopening the heart.
And feeling the pain, feeling the fear, feeling it all. Because if you hide from it, it only gets stronger and stronger and stronger until, you know, a rock bottom moment really kicks in.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to me,
what have
also,
you been doing, by the way? I would love to know.
What have I been doing in which regard?
In like in your dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
What helps you?
So yeah, I started saying this phrase that I had to pick myself up by my spiritual bootstraps. And I just, you know, because you kind of like, it's just like, well, when are things going to change? And just like, what's going to, you know, like looking to the external, you know, it's natural for us to do that.
Yes.
And then being like, oh shit, I actually have to do inner work in order for the external to reflect that. And it's like, I know that on an intellectual level.
Yes.
But when the rubber meets the road and you're like, I want to throw myself into the ocean right now, you know, how do you have that level of like deep trust and put one foot in front of the other and go sort of, I had to, you know, force myself. I was like waking up every morning and feeling like, oh God, another day, you know, and then I don't look at the news very much, but you know, at some point I want to know what's what at least people are perceiving is going on in the world. What's the collective consciousness belief that is happening in the world right now? So you look at that and you're like, fuck, man. And so I was just having that kind of prolonged moment. And then I pulled myself up by my spiritual bootstraps. I got my ass out of bed in the morning. I had ceremony every morning. I spoke to the trees. I walked barefoot. I went and spent time in nature. I prayed for guidance and help. And, you know, and I guess that's sort of like just reopening the heart over and over again, and also finding the trust. And what happened for me is that I started to, for a moment, doubt my own divinity. And I started to doubt magic and, you know, getting into that place of just like deep doubt.
Trust. Yeah.
And so exactly. Having to then turn that around and be like, no. There's no going back from knowing that I'm a sovereign divine being. There's no going back from knowing that the world is truth and beauty and is a sacred geometry, and that things right now are falling into place, and that I actually am truly an alchemist. And real alchemy happens when we turn
shit into gold. Yes.
Right? When we can create gold from whatever's happening. And the deeper and darker it is, the more beautiful, the more leverage we have to make the most beautiful gold from that. So that's the message I had to continuously send myself.
Yes. I mean, partially it's also, you know, I got the tattoo, the Merkaba, obviously, with those 3 words, which is love, trust, and surrender. And I think these 3 words really have been my anchor in every rock bottom moment as well, to just tune back to love, to trust that spirit guides me in the perfect way, and to surrender to it. Yeah, because if you try to control the outcome or control the situation or try to make sense of everything in the moment, usually it only makes sense in hindsight. And we just have to trust that we will receive the insights of hindsight in the right timing when we are ready for it. And in the void, we can just embrace the void, feel all the feelings, and clear our, I want to say, DNA from every deep, dense imprint that is left, because that's the only reason things like that happen and things like that come up, because it's actually a liberation. we might see it as a punishment in the first moment, but it's actually a liberation for our energetic field, essentially.
Yeah, it's an opportunity to feel the emotions that have been repressed for for eons, as you said.
Yes.
Right. I mean, as women who identify with the magical realms, our lineage was burned. Our lineage was, I mean, there was good reason for us to repress ourselves for eons. So if that darkness starts to come to the surface and we're able to actually feel it and transmute it and give it to the earth, then maybe we've released that on behalf of our ancestors and ourselves and future generations.
Exactly. And a lot of the things that we carry, especially as women, is really not ours. We have to see that too, which again, why I love to work with human design, because it really shows you also where you absorb energy from the collective that is not yours. And you feel it even stronger. So it feels even more like you, but it's actually not you. So it's important to be aware of that, because then you can consciously tune into your own energetic field back again. If that's in the meditation, if that's in the evening, it's that whatever cleansing ritual you do, right? To really say, okay, I tune back into my own energy. Please release everything out of my field that is not mine. So important, energetic hygiene. And that's another thing what I kind of love about the last 2 years. Everyone was talking about hygiene and how to, be safe in the world, right? When you go out there, because it's true that we absorb other people's energies, but not in the way that we were programmed to believe in the past 2 years, where everything is a threat, right? It's more so that we have to consciously be aware that everything in the outside world, and whenever we enter the outside world, it's an energetic transference. And we have to really, really be aware of that. It doesn't mean that we need protection or anything. It just means that we have to make sure that at the end of the day, we return back to our own energetic field.
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, so talking about sort of the dark night of the soul and the collective dark night of the soul, and we've talked about how we individually can pull ourselves out. Do you have any thoughts or insights that we haven't already covered about how the collective can pull ourselves out of this?
I believe wholeheartedly, and that's why I had this huge calling to reconnect souls and humans, that everything we see in the collective field is just a manifestation of the individual field. So I think the best work we can do is to really do our own work, to focus on ourselves. That's what it is. To not project, to not, blame, to really return to your own stuff, the stuff that you have to go through, to work through, because otherwise it will manifest in collective craziness, as we can see. It's the manifestation of all the people that have not done the work, the inner work on themselves, as hard as it sounds and as crazy as it sounds, because a lot of people can't comprehend that, right? How can something like war in the Ukraine be something that I manifested with stuff that I've suppressed? But that's actually the truth.
Yeah. So it's a continuous, anything that we have to say about how we pull ourselves from our own dark nights of the soul, or how we bring our own shadow to light, or how we work within do our own deep inner work. That's also how the collective can face this as well, is that we each individually have to do the work, or play, depending on how you look at it.
Yes.
How do you see, or I guess, so we're in 2022 now, towards the beginning. We're actually about to round out the beginning of the astrological new year.
Yes.
Right? So, and this might air a little bit after that, but moving into Aries season soon. So how can you give us a little insight from an astrological point of view about where things are?
I mean, we're still obviously going through a huge shadow phase, I want to say. But the English chart of the astrological new year actually has the moon at 29 degrees of Libra, which is the final degree, a master degree. So I do feel like everything about 2022 is about balancing, because I also feel like that we've been a little bit too caught up in shadow work. And it's also the South Node in Scorpio right now, North Node in Taurus. So it's about embracing life again, coming back to actually enjoying this human incarnation again, being human again, not being so lost in the underworld, which is easy, right? Because everything we see in the outside world is underworld, 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 shadow, shadow, shadow of humanity everywhere. So it's actually difficult to return back to, okay, every single day, exactly what you say, I tune and connect to nature. I enjoy just the simple things of life, connecting to other humans, pleasure, the five senses, feeling the sun on your skin, eating good foods, just enjoying life here. I feel like, of course, with everything that happened over the last 2 years, it was very, very difficult to focus on that. And everything felt like I'm not even allowed to just enjoy the simple things because there's so much craziness happening. But the craziness won't ever go away. So we have to start and return back to becoming human again. I think that's the best medicine, because even the earth is in pain because we are so much in pain, and we forget the beauty of Mother Nature and of again, everything that Mother Nature provides for us. And I think that's also a medicine for the earth, that she doesn't feel like she's the prison planet, or however some people in the spiritual community even say that sometimes Earth is the prison planet and we need to ascend to other realms. I don't see that. I really see that we together raise the consciousness and basically the frequency of Gaia, right? And it actually aligns with what you said about, Gaia being basically the heart chakra of the earth, and we have to reawaken that, or of the universe, and we have to reawaken that. And we can do that by returning to our own hearts.
Oh my God, I love that. And that's something, so you're going to love this, I think. I'm a Taurus sun, Scorpio moon.
Oh, so you're basically in the polarity.
Yep. So I'm bipolar. No,
Yes.
not, I mean, I joke, but yeah, I mean, and so part of my dharma, I guess, is to Taurus more, to luxuriate more,
Exactly.
to feel more sensual in the world, and I have said for years, like, why would we, I mean, sure, if folks want to go to Mars, like, have fun, but why would we want to leave this planet? Like, this planet is lush, it's gorgeous. And for tens of thousands of years, humans loved this planet, and this planet loved us. And we had a beautiful, beautiful, reciprocal, loving relationship. And it's only been in the last, I don't know exactly, I'm going to say 5,000 years, that we've fallen off that path, and separated ourselves from nature, especially, in the last several hundred years, industrial revolution and such. But, if you go back and like look at like how the Druids were, and how, the Egyptians were, and all the ancient civilizations and their relationship with the planet, with this planet, it was beautiful. Yes. They didn't take it for granted. They loved it and they felt part of it.
Exactly. And we've totally lost connection to that because of the crazy stories and weird things and distortions that we actually have programmed ourselves as a human collective, right? We made it more complicated to be on this planet. And that's the only reason why we are in the slumber that we are in right now. But it's actually a mess that we created ourselves.
Actually, I totally get you, because in 2020, when we were talking, I was in all those like rabbit holes, right? Like, I hadn't really explored all the rabbit holes before. Like, I questioned things, but I didn't question them nearly deep enough. Yes. And so in those, I encountered a lot of the folks that said that Earth is a prison, and that, in fact, associated in some ways with a demonic sort of, not demonic, but Luciferian energy. And I've come to realize over the last year or so that what a lot of that is, and this is barely formulated, so I'm thinking out loud somehow, but a lot of that, I think, is demonizing the feminine.
Yes.
And it's saying that this earth and this earthly realm, which is a very feminine sort of energy, Gaia is a very feminine energy, or balanced at least. It literally attaches like Lucifer to that, and hell or prison or whatever to that. And I think, and interesting also, if you think of like the underworld, right? That's a very historically, if you look at ancient civilizations, that's a very feminine sort of place.
Persephone, essentially.
Persephone, exactly. Persephone, and it's the caves and the water. And that has been called hell.
Yes. Or Pandora's box. That's like a term that really came into my field the last few weeks. Pandora's box, and Pandora, she has been really deep down and opened the box of like consciousness, essentially, right? But it's something that reveals so much that it was demonized.
Well, and then that goes back to the ancient biblical stories of Eve, right? And Eve wanting to know more.
Yes.
And to have more information.
Yeah. Or even Lilith, it's another archetype that is really strong in the field right now. Just like the first woman that said, no, I'm not going to be submissive anymore. I'm staying true to my own power and my own truth, even if I'm abandoned for it.
Right. Yeah. Which that Lilith is demonized.
Yes.
Eve is demonized.
Yes.
Any feminine energy that questions the status quo gets demonized. And what if we were to embrace that? Talk about new paradigm, because that's what this show is all about, is like new paradigm, new earth. What do we want to create? So enough about what has, what's happened in the past in the last 5,000 years or more or less, I don't know. But like, what do we want to create? How do we want to embrace these feminine archetypes, or all, any archetype that declares its own sovereignty and declares connection at the same time? How I feel like that's sort of that's the complexity that the feminine holds so beautifully.
Yeah, I mean, the feminine is pure creation. And that's why it's also been suppressed and feared, because you cannot really control the flow of art, the flow of creation, right? Every artist can basically confirm that. You cannot plan when you would be creative. You cannot plan when the divine essentially flows through you, because that's what creative energy is. It's just that you stepping out of your way and letting the divine flow through you. And the woman, in that sense, is the portal for that divine consciousness to flow through. And it's not, I almost want to say it's not personal. It's just the woman is the vessel, right? I mean, we all are consciousness or source incarnated in a creative form or in a physical form. But women especially are just a powerful portal to help us see what the divine wants to create on this earth plane. That's why the feminine power has been suppressed so much, because it's the best way to control evolution in a way. And the feminine power has been suppressed not just in physical women, but also the feminine energy in each and every single man. It's very suppressed.
So how do you feel that looks like as we move towards a new paradigm, as we embrace these feminine archetypes, and as we embrace the feminine within us, that creative power, and I guess that sort of power, how do you feel that will show up?
I think it's a huge awakening. And again, we've been talking about it a lot already, of the heart. It's a reawakening and remembering of the power of the heart and the connection that the heart has to, again, like source consciousness in the divine creation. Because if you look at the Venus sequence, even the way Venus, and Venus relates to the heart chakra as well, and the Venus star, right, that the Star of David, the Venus star, and even how Venus orbits around the sun creates a creative, like very creative rose petal shape. And it's all about the beauty of this universe. And if we tune back into that and allow that to reawaken on this earth plane, I think that's when we realize again that everything in the outside world is actually beautiful. It's not as brutal and awful as it looks like. It's just our perception is tainted by the lack of connection to the beauty of the universe. So we see the whole world through the glasses of, oh gosh, evil, darkness, instead of beauty. And so if we reawaken the heart, we all of a sudden realize, no, there's actually so much beauty also out there.
Hmm.
Because all this world is just a perception. It's just a projection as well of our inner state. So you see the world through your own frequency, so to speak. So if you work on your frequency, you see the world in a more beautiful way all of a sudden. It's like you see a different world, and when you wake up after, you know, a night that you work through a lot of density, you wake up and you feel like, oh my gosh, the world is so beautiful all of a sudden, because your frequency shifted.
Right, like after an ayahuasca journey, and you're
Yes.
like retching all night long, and then at some point you're like, "Oh my God,
So
this is
much
the most
beauty.
beautiful thing I've ever seen in
Yes.
my life."
Yes.
Yes, you have to clear out a lot, which is why we've got to feel the feelings. We've got to purge them with it, however that looks, whether that's by dancing or crying or, you know, screaming or
Absolutely.
puking.
Yeah, whatever works, you know, let the energy out.
Yeah. So can you tell us more about like what you do on a practical level, like with clients or whatever, like how are you showing up to bring in this new paradigm?
So I work a lot with astrology and human design as door openers, I want to say, for connecting to the essence of the soul and the soul contract that this individual signed up for. Because I believe, you know, I always say that source knew about the crazy shifts that are happening on planet Earth during this time and needed a big fucking team to change many different areas on this Earth plane, right? And each and every single one of us has a special assignment from source to work through karmic loops, imprints from the past, whatever it may be, density essentially, that we need to clear in order to have a more beautiful field here down on this Earth plane. And what I do is essentially help people remember why they came here, and then give them practical tools to really work through these blockages, these densities, these DNA imprints that essentially disconnect you from your power and from your heart. And yeah, it's a huge, you know, some people say it's like an ayahuasca ceremony. When I tune into the sessions with them, I mentor people long term as well, because it's so intense. So 3 to 6 month embodiment, embodiment and integrating basically what we reveal in a soul contract activation session. And yeah, then I really guide them towards their liberation and their reconnection with the heart and with the purpose and the mission that they sign up for, because I do see that everyone that comes to me also has a ripple effect. So it's like the domino, right? We start with one individual, but that person touches more people and more people and more people. And that's how we create a ripple effect on the entire planet, which is the most beautiful thing. I always see like these hands that, you know, come back together and hug Mother Gaia in the end and fill the whole field with love. And I pray that that's what this entire period in our human evolution is all about. Also, and that's, you know, you can say that's Age of Aquarius as well, that we all remember we are soul family, we are all together and we are all one big network or tribe, right? And I think that's, yeah, my work is a contribution to that, to help us see how connected we are, not just to the universe, but also to other humans, other souls on this planet.
So what does that look like? You do one-on-one work?
Yes,
How can people? Yeah, go ahead.
I do one-on-one work. I have on Instagram, you can reach me for sessions if you're interested. So that's Magic Kathy Official. I also have email. I'm sure you can link it down below if you're curious to get a single one activation session. I do those, of course, where I really use my intuitive gifts, the timelines that I perceive, the densities and the blockages that I feel in the field, and then we clear it out together. And I help you come back to your heart, essentially. And if you would like to have a long-term embodiment guidance, then I do individual one-on-one work as well, which is more long-term, 3 to 6 months. And at the same time, I also do educate people in becoming human design and astrologer readers. So if you would like to learn more about astrology and human design and the energetics of it, because I always say it's the language of your soul and the language of the universe. So it's always good to know these languages and to know how the universe speaks to us. Then that's another thing that I do.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it took me a while to sort of get fully on board. I grew up such a skeptic, like an agnostic sort of skeptic. I think because I was raised in a very religious context. And once I got online with astrology and human design and realized that these are just like roadmaps or blueprints, it's just had a huge impact. I mean, I look at it now and I'm like, of course I'm a Taurus Sun, Scorpio Moon. Of course I'm a manifesting generator, but there's still so many details that I don't yet understand about all of those things, about astrology on the macro and the micro level, about human design. So I'm really grateful that there are people like you who can help translate these cosmic languages to the earthly realm for us.
What's your rising? Sagittarius?
Cancer.
Cancer. Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
Although my mom's a Sagittarius. I feel like I've got some Sagittarius in my, but maybe this is what you're picking up on. Maybe. Well, this is the polar opposite of Sagittarius, but I'm a
Gemini.
My Venus and my Mercury, I think, are both in Gemini. So that sort of free-spirited.
Yes. My Mars is in Gemini, so our Venus-Mars connection probably brought us to this conversation. I love that.
I'm trying to remember. I'm going to look really quick, honestly, just for a second. I'm going to look at my Time Passages app to see if it's my Mercury or my Mars. Like I said, it's Venus and Mercury in Gemini. My Mars is in Taurus.
What degree? Do you see that?
Oh Lord, I don't know. Let's
no
see
worries.
Which one.
It's just the Virgo side and me, Venus and Virgo. I want to know the details.
Which one do you want to know?
Any. In Gemini, what do you have?
Venus in Gemini, 7-degree Gemini.
Oh my gosh, my Mars is 8 degrees. I swear, I told you, like I feel that Venus-Mars connection coming together in Gemini that led us to have this conversation. That's so beautiful.
I have no idea what it means.
It's a conjunction, that's why it's very close.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, I love it. I love it and feel like I have so much more to learn. So people can find you on Instagram and at your website.
Yes, and I have a podcast, the Magic Kathy Show as well, where I share collective updates, usually the full moon, new moons, and anything that really drops into my field where I feel like, okay, people need an activation.
Do you have any words of it or of inspiration or advice for our listeners? I
think the biggest thing that guides me as well in dark moments is that First of all, you can never miss the universe, meaning that whatever is meant for you will always stay with you or always come back around. I think that's the biggest piece of light and trust that really helped me, especially because the last 2 years, I think, took many things away from us where we felt like, oh my gosh, we need them, or, we cannot survive without them. And again, like the biggest piece of advice here is to always come back to that truth that you can never miss the universe, and whatever is meant for you will always stay with you or come back around. I think that's everything. It's the biggest anchor for me.
What a beautiful balm to the soul, right? Because when in those dark moments, right, when we're feeling really down, a lot of it has such a flavor of regret. Of like, oh, I missed that opportunity. I fucked it up.
As well,
and fear. So knowing that no matter what is happening, you can never miss the universe, that that you will always get back on track.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So any moment, and that's the sacred geometry, right? It's like any moment of misalignment is inevitably going to come back into alignment.
And also really anchoring your heart into the belief that your soul is always for you. It's never against you. So, if the relationship doesn't work anymore, if the job is being taken away from you, whatever it may be, where you feel like, oh my gosh, the universe took it away from me and is against me, it's always for us. It's always for us. And that's why I said earlier, sometimes you don't understand it in the very moment, but hindsight will always tell. And we just have to trust that we will understand it in hindsight in the divine right moment. And the time between us understanding it and us being confused about it is our teaching. is our lesson. It's where the universe teaches us so many things, and we have to really pay attention to those teachings, because then the hindsight understanding will be even more powerful.
Absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much. You are an absolute paradigm shifter, and I am really grateful for your presence on this planet. And I'm grateful for all of you listeners. Please check out Magic Kathy and on Instagram, at her website, on her podcast, and all the places. And if you enjoyed listening to this conversation, please feel free to share it on your social media channels and tell the world about it, because ultimately we want to get these messages, these beautiful paradigm shifting messages and feelings and heart-centeredness into as many hearts and homes as possible, whether it's me, Sarah, and Magic Kathy, or whether it's, somebody else, as long as it's in alignment with, the truth and the beauty and the heart-centeredness of this planet, then I'm all for getting it out to as many people as possible.
Absolutely. We all do the same thing in a way, in different ways, but all have the same purpose, which is opening the heart, reconnecting other souls with the heart, or basically showing other people how beautiful they truly are.
So from our hearts to your hearts, this is Kathy and Sarah signing off. Yep. Have a beautiful, beautiful day.